The first tournament of the season has just concluded, and we finally got to see a Peterbot versus Pollo off spawn in a set lobby finals. We also got some super big news with arguably the best team in all of Brazil moving to NA for this season. We gotta talk about which trios are struggling, which teams look the best, and so much more. We're gonna see who starts though. Please subscribe to the channel if you guys are new, as we try our best to upload daily competitive content for you guys. Please just go K1ng in the Fortnite item shop if you guys want to support me even more, especially when buying the brand new season's battle pass. Without further ado though, let's talk about King moving to NA. So I'll try to put the video up on the screen while I talk about this, but King ended up just tweeting out June 17th, 2025 with a whole like hype up slash promo video for them actually going to NA. So it looks like they should be here just in time for them to be able to play the first divisional cup of the season. I don't think that this team is in Div 1 on NA, unfortunately. So this trio is unfortunately gonna have to go through the ringer of trying to qualify from Div 3 to Div 2 all the way up into Div 1. So we will probably not get to see these guys in a single divisional cup this season, but if everything goes according to plan for them, they will be able to be in Div 1 by the time FNCS officially starts. It would really suck if they moved all the way down to NA and weren't even able to make it to Div 1, but let's just assume that they are going to. Phaser ended up tweeting out box cars and everything. This team's placements in trios are a first place in the first FNCS Grand Finals, then a 5th place in the very last one. So they got the exact same placement as someone like K1ng, Pollo, and Agers in the last two FNCS Grands. And since they are going to brutal box cars, the only good trio that is currently going there is Edgy's trio. I think box cars is a very viable option for these guys if they're able to get it completely uncontested. You already see Vino trying to do that on EU. Pretty much the strat is if they're able to get this spot completely unconned come Grand Finals time, they believe that they can probably compete with anybody in this lobby. Do I think that this trio is going to win Grands on NA? I would have to say probably not. I think this is very good practice for them. We saw a lot of trios do this last year from like these smaller regions. In the very final season, they moved over to NA or EU to try to just get some extra practice against some better competition before globals actually comes around. So I think this is a super smart move from King, and I'm very excited to see what they can actually pull off. Let me know what your guys' predictions for them come Grand Finals time. Let's actually move on to the NA Cash Cup now though. Now in first place of the opens, they are finally back. The trio of Agers, Acorn, and Pollo. They finished with 397 points, won 2 out of their 7 matches, and finished with the most amount of elims, getting 150 total elims. I feel like NA is just so much better when this trio is doing good. If you guys are wondering, no, them and Peterbot did not fight off spawn a single time in the opens. Peterbot's trio finished in 2nd place on 337 points. Peterbot, Code, and Ritual tried to do the strat of getting in Pollo's game to fight them off spawn to try to make them not be able to qualify, but unfortunately they tried this 2 times in the opens. Both of the times they end up failing to do it. They were not able to grief Pollo out of the qual, and both of these teams were able to make it into finals. 3rd place was Spear, 4th place was Shipski, 5th place was Liam, 6th place was Muzz, G Money, and Rise, 7th place was clix, and Higgs on 282 points. They won 2 out of their 7 matches and only got 86 total elims in the opens today, but I'm obviously not going to look too much into that. An Eval Cup opens elims, like who really cares? 8th place was Rapid Booga and Threats, 9th place was Cringe and EU trio, and then rounding out the top 10, the West FNCS winners of Baka, Pars, and Pump. We just had a couple of other big names be able to make finals, like some really big name EU trios like Trulex, Tini, and Skavi in 11th, thomashd, Scroll, and Hellfire in 19th, and then some more NA trios we had was like 20th place of Epic Whale, 22nd place of Shadow Virgo and Craze, and then Oliver OG was just barely able to qualify, finishing in 32nd place. So on both NA and EU, we saw some super big name teams fail to qualify for the finals, like 41st place, a team that just booked their ticket in the LAN last season of Reet Cooper and Curly failed to qualify, and then a trio that just continues to struggle in almost every tournament if they play, it seems like. In 108th place was Kanata, Bolts, and Sphinx. They only finished with 160 points in 5 total matches. Bolts ended up tweeting out that he wasn't able to get a last queue, so there was some unfortunate things that actually ended up happening to this trio today. But still, I feel like I say this every single time I review a tournament. Bolts, Kanata, and Sphinx have just still yet to impress me now, and they have been playing together for a while. Even in the games that they were able to play, they only had 1 game inside of the top 5, and that was a 10 elimination 3rd. Of course, first tournament of the season, all of these teams are trying to learn the meta. It's not time to press the panic button yet, but I would be getting a little bit nervous if I was a fan of any of these 3 players. Let's actually move on to how the finals went now. Now in the finals, I didn't want to be the one to say it, but Pollo was giving Peter straight belt, just game after game. Pollo, oh my goodness, they put on an absolute off-spawn fighting masterclass today. Let's first talk about everybody that was able to win though. So in first place, a super impressive performance from the trio of Shadow, Virgo, and Craze. Now there was a lot of different things that really outshined their performance today, so I just want to give them huge props real quick. These guys finished with far and away the most elims, getting 42 total elims, won the very final game of the day, getting a 14 elimination win, but they had 3 total double-digit elimination games in this tournament, getting a 12 elimination third, 10 elimination third, and then like I said earlier, a 14 elimination win in their very final game. I know there was only 2 land spots on A, so it's going to be pretty difficult, but this might be a dark horse potential land qualifying team. I have absolutely loved what I've seen out of these guys ever since they ended up forming together. Second place was clix, and Higgs. They honestly should have had 2 wins in this tournament because of a exploit glitch that a player was doing that we will talk about in a little bit, but they should have started with this tournament with back-to-back wins. They got a 9 elimination second, then an 8 elimination win. After that, they did kind of struggle, only getting a 2 elimination 7th and then a 0 elimination 17th in their very final game where they died in a mid-game fight when they were trying to W key. Still though, honestly, Clix was robbed out of one of his wins, so technically he should have won half the games today. Not a bad performance from him at all. And then in third place, let's talk about it finally, the Peterbot versus Pollo off spawn fight. So Ritual Cold and Peterbot were able to get a win in the only game that they made it off spawn, getting a 17 elimination win, showing that if they were uncontested for every single game, they would probably still be like far and away the best team in the entire world. But if you watch any of this tournament, you know that that is not what happened, because Pollo, Acorn, and Agers ended up winning this off spawn fight 3-1. And if I was just like ranking how good each player looked in this off spawn, I think Pollo was like far and away the best player in this entire off spawn fight. He was constantly having the best drops. He was scroll wheeling all of the loot. I've already seen people start to pose the question on, is Peterbot going to leave the drop? I think there is no way that he leaves the drop after a single eval cup. I think the only way he leaves it is if like a super good POI gets added literally like before the next tournament. But I think we're gonna get a part 2 next week in the next eval cup. They're definitely going to be going at it in scrims throughout this entire week. Do I think Peterbot should leave the drop spot? I mean, literally, like I said, in the only end game that he made, they got a 17 elimination win, which was the highest elim win of the entire day. So they showed that if they're able to win this off spawn fight, make it into the end game, they can still win games with ease. I know Peter's about to be grinding off spawns. They're harder than ever. He's definitely going to make Cold grind those off spawns with him as well, because if we're just being real, they really did go out sad today. And you know, Peterbot as a player does not want to begin to get the reputation of being a bad off spawn player. Do I think that this means that Peter's going to be like contested in globals now and like his off spawn rep is ruined? I think we are a little bit too early to really tell for that yet. His off spawn rep is definitely not squeaky clean as it was before this season started. And honestly, even back in that last Star Wars season, depending on how much you value those off spawn fights that he had with Clix. But I don't think he is going to leave the drop spot because of this eval cup. And if he does, you already know he's going to get clowned so much for it. Fourth place, a team that I did kind of want to talk about, was Shipski. Now, they won game 1 today, getting a 1 elimination win. And if you're like, how the heck did they do that? They did the fist exploit. If you guys don't know what that means, I'm going to try to show a clip on the screen right here. But pretty much, Shipski just ran no guns at all, only the fists and then floppers and medkits. He was able to make it into endgame. And then the team that he ended up beating was clix, and Higgs. After he got his win in game 1, I think he got scared of all of the Clix fans because he did not do this strategy for a single game after the first one. I would not be surprised if these fists end up getting vaulted within the next couple of updates, or they at least have to get some type of patch, because this is nowhere near competitive and this is not fair at all. The highest placing team that was not able to get a win, if you don't know how these eval cup works, it goes by how many elims you got for the rest of the leaderboard. So 5th place was Agers, Acorn, and Pollo. They unfortunately were not able to get any wins today. They did win 3-1 off spawn though, and in those games they got a 16 elimination 5th, 11 elimination 4th, and then an 8 elimination 11th in their very final game. I think even though they weren't able to win a game, this is still just so good for the long-term effects on this trio. We know that the morale was not the best on this team, and them beating the best player in the world, what most people would probably agree to be the best trio in the world, just absolutely handling them off spawn, has to give a boost to their confidence, especially because Acorn isn't even on 0 ping yet. I just really want these guys to do good. They are one of my favorite teams to watch, and I am going to be rooting for these guys so hard for the remainder of the season. 6th place was Liam Freeze and Kyson. 7th place was Scare Josh and Tyler. 8th place was Sandman. 9th place was Takieshu and Vert. And then rounding out the top 10 was was Seek, Dash, and Veer. We did have some other big names outside of that top 10, like 11th place of Booga, Rapid, and Threats. These guys were contested by Epic Whale off spawn, and they ended up winning 3-1. Weren't able to get any games inside of the top 5, unfortunately, but still, so that they could compete off spawn. And I do still think this is going to be one of my locked trios for being able to qualify for LAN this season. I mean, other than that, that was pretty much it for all of the big names on NA. Let's actually move on to how EU went now. Now in EU, in the opens, we honestly saw a lot of super good, really big name teams fail to qualify. Let's start off though, of course, with everybody that was able to qual. Like first place, the brand new trio of iDrop, Yapko, and Panzer. Now it's honestly going to suck that we're probably not going to see this team get to play together until either the very final Div Cup of the season or not until FNCS, because if you guys didn't know, Yapko is actually in Div 2 on EU. I feel like a lot of people are already forgetting that Yapko literally just moved back to EU, so he is still not Div 1 on that region yet. So for how insane they look today, finishing with 343 points, winning half of their games, and getting the most elims of 88 total elims as well, we might not get to see these guys play together until FNCS, which is just still absolutely mind-blowing. Like, how is there only 2 Div Cups this season? Second place though was Floki, third place was Contri Finnick and Pradaj, fourth place was Vadil's brand new trio, or I guess his brand new trio from the end of last season, decided to stick together of Cringe and Volko. They finished on 288 points. Fifth place was No. Sixth place is another trio that just formed last season of Sky, Scroll, and thomashd. They finished with the second most elims, getting 87 total elims. Seventh place is K's, and then eighth place is a trio that actually decided to stick together of Mongraal, Kaido, and Haijo. Now, I don't know what it is, but Mongraal seems to qualify for eval cups almost as consistently as like most of the top pros. He has now made 3 out of the last 4 eval cup finals, and the first one with his brand new trio of Kaido and Haijo. We did see Kaido end up tweeting out that this is going to be the team for the rest of the year. They're planning on trying to qualify to globals together. I absolutely love when trios stick together, and I think the main thing that Mongraal needed was just some continuity, because in the Star Wars season, I did kind of like the fact that they were trying out so many different people with him and Turtle, but then him and Turtle ended up splitting up. Mongraal formed with Kaido and Haijo, and it looks like they are planning on sticking together. They finished with 267 points, won 1 out of their 6 matches, and got 30 total elims. Ninth place was Art Skill, and then rounding out the top 10 was Mappy. Some other big names that were able to qualify was like 12th place of Noah Riley, 14th place of Venya, Pixie, and Marius, Pixstar and Demas in 16th, and then in 33rd place, the very last team that was able to qualify was Shark, Combeck, and Blaha. So that means that we had a lot of big name trios miss out on this first eval cup of the season, like Teeny in 34th, Chris, Tasted, and Chicho in 50th. These guys are officially playing together again. The LAN qualified team also not able to qualify, and then one of the other big ones in 61st place of Chap, mrsavage, and Rezon. They finished with 203 points today in 6 total matches, only able to get 1 game inside of the top 5, and that was a 7 elimination 4th in the very final game, a game that Rezon actually had to pull off an insane solo clutch. It just unfortunately was still not really even close to being enough. They did have to deal with some unfortunate things today, like Chap crashing in one of their games, but honestly, I'm still not like too worried for this team. I don't think they're gonna split up over this. At the same time though, we don't have another tournament until the eval cup next week again, so I really don't know where this trio is gonna go from here. I think they can look at it as kind of a thing where like, oh, everybody's still just learning the meta. There were so many big name trios that were not even able to qualify this week. It wasn't like they were the outlier. So definitely a disappointing performance from them, but I don't think it is necessarily anything that's like a make or break for this trio. Because we also had teams like Vico, Vino, and Flixie in 83rd place, only get 180 points in 7 matches. They pretty much have the same W keying problem with somebody like Peterbot, where they just W key every single game in the eval cup and end up not qualifying because of it. I mean, we also literally have like 2nd place in grands from last season of Chino, Paulo, and Ferdoxy in 101st place. Ferdoxy was very vocal on Twitter about not liking the season, not liking the meta, and wanting some things removed. We had Seti, Hari, and Cammy in 105th. And then if you guys didn't know, unfortunately, Queasy and Murstache have to play with a fill for all of this season until FNCS time. Swizzy is going to be in Russia, so they ended up playing with Sined, and they unfortunately finished in 176th place. Let's actually move on to how the final finals went now. Now in the finals, in first place, the trio that I feel like I talked about so much last season and was very excited to see what they were actually going to be able to accomplish in an actual season that matters, of Dexy and then the brothers of Eclipse and Twy. They were able to win game 2 today, getting a 20 elimination win. This trio finished with the most amount of elims in this entire tournament, had 3 games inside of the top 10, and like I said earlier, got a 20 elimination win as well. Whenever you're able to get on high ground in this meta, and if you have the loadout to set you up for success, your fragging potential is just so high. I'm very excited to see how these guys are actually going to do in the actual divisional cups next week, but a very strong start for these guys. Super happy for them. Second place is a trio that I have started to see some people say they want to call these guys their early FNCS winning prediction of Pix, Darm, and Demas. Now they were able to win the very final game of the day, getting a 10 elimination win, but the reason why people are so high on these guys is because the rest of their match history was an 8 elimination third, 9 elimination second, and a 5 elimination 8th. The most impressive part about this whole thing to me was Pix, Darm, and Demas were contested for 4 out of 4 games in this Eval Cup finals by thomashd, Sky, and Scroll. They won every single off-spawn fight against thomashD's trio, going 4-0 against them, and then went on to arguably probably be the best team in the entire Eval Cup as well. This team in Grand Finals got 5th place in their first ever Grands, 3rd place in their second ever Grands, and I am starting to see people make their early prediction that they are the next FNCS winners on EU. Let me know what you guys think about that in the comment section down below. I am very excited to see how the rest of the season actually goes for these guys. 3rd place being able to win game 2 with a 12 elimination win was Ghost, Hyper, and Firen. That was pretty much their only good game though, but hey, a win is a win at the end of the day, so huge shout out to them. And then in 4th place, the team that won game 1 and also was really their only good game, but they got a 9 elimination win. That was Fant, Peshka, and Fury Legend. The rest of the leaderboard was like 5th place of Ankido, Kylie, and Sheeps. 6th place was the reigning defending FNCS champions of Venya, Pixie, and Marius. They unfortunately were not able to pick up any wins today. They only had 2 games inside of the top 10, getting a 14 elimination second and a 5 elimination 9th. I feel like the thing with Venya, Pixie, and Marius in Eval Cups especially, they're either going to win 2 games or they're just not going to win any games at all. They are just such a high ground oriented team, and that playstyle is always going to be major boom or bust. I was kind of surprised though that in a lobby that didn't have any other super height dominant trios like Queasy's trio, Vino's trio, these guys were still unfortunately somehow not able to get a win. 7th place was Pingwalks and Malibuca, also another team, but I don't necessarily want to say I'm like surprised weren't able to get wins. I feel like this team never really wins that many Eval Cup games. Their best games were a 4 elimination 9th and an 8 elimination 3rd. Would I really be worried about any of these teams though? No, once again, it is just an Eval Cup, first tournament of the season. Not really too concerned about how these teams are actually doing in this. 8th place was Quix, 9th place was Combeck, Shark, and Blaha, and then rounding out the top 10 was Vidil, Cringe, and Volko. We did of course have a couple other big names outside of that top 10, like 12th place of iDrop, Yapko, and Panzer. Decent first set lobby Eval Cup finals out of these guys, 2 games inside the top 10 with a 3 elimination 7th and an 8 elimination 3rd. Noah Riley finished in 18th, and then unfortunately towards the bottom of the leaderboard, we do have like Sky, Scroll, and thomashd in 31st. Like I said earlier, they ended up losing 0-4 off spawn to Pix, Darm, and Demas. If I were this trio, I don't even know if I would go all the way up until the Div Cups to try to keep contesting them. It doesn't really make much sense in the first place because Pix, Darm, and Demas already have a land spot secured, and Sky, Scroll, and thomashd are still fighting for a land spot. So when you're losing 0-4 off spawn against a team that already has a land spot, you should honestly probably just leave. And then another team that just really struggled off spawn was 32nd place of Mongraal, Kaido, and Haijo. It seems like Mongraal is kind of stuck in a phase right now where he's able to qualify for Eval Cup finals, but every single finals that he makes, he just ends up getting contested. Mongraal is unfortunately currently at the point where he's not really like on a good enough team to secure an uncontested drop spot in every single finals, and he also really hasn't been making a lot of the Div Cup finals recently either, so it's almost impossible for him to lock down a fully uncon spot. So he's just in kind of an endless cycle of being contested right now. Let's move on to the actual kin stats now. So for the most damage dealt in the first Eval Cup of the season, in 10th place we have Frantic on 3032, 9th place is Yapko, 8th is Marius, 7th is Walks, 6th is Pixie, 5th is Darm, 4th is Eclipse, 3rd is Inkido, 2nd place is Kylie, and then in 1st first place with 4,450 damage, so 400 more damage than second, and the best damage ratio with 1.96 is none other than the 13-year-old underrated GOAT of Shark. For the actual stat leaders, we had Kiddo with the most elims of 19, super impressive to get 19 elims in 4 games as well. Shark had the best damage ratio and the most damage, and then assist was Kylie with 26. And then damage per minute was the other surge GOAT of thomashd, getting 111.1 damage per minute. Other than that though, remember, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new, as we try our best to upload daily competitive content for you guys. Please use code K1ng in the Fortnite item shop if you guys want to support me even more, especially when buying the brand new season's battle pass. Unfortunately, we don't have any tournaments until this same time next week, so I'm gonna try to have some other content coming out over these next couple of days. Let me know specifically though what you guys really want to see as well. YouTube says enjoy one of these 2 videos up on the screen right now, so go check them out if you guys haven't already. Follow me on my Twitter at K1ng to keep up to date with everything to do with Fortnite competitive. Thank God for another day, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace out.